Good morning, everyone. It's Tuesday, January 19th. Coming to you live from Seoul, I'm Kim Mo-kyun. Before we get started, these are the stories we're following at the top of the hour. South Korea reported 386 new COVID-19 cases Tuesday, continuing to stay below 400 for the second straight day. As part of fresh efforts to curb the virus, the government plans to begin taking reservations for COVID-19 vaccinations in February in preparation for a smooth vaccination process. A new COVID-19 variant has been reported in Germany on Monday local time, raising concerns of more variant infections across the globe. Authorities say the variant is different from those identified in Britain, South Africa, or Brazil. And with just a day before the U.S. welcomes its new president, all eyes are on how President Trump will leave the White House, as he plans not to attend Biden's inauguration ceremony, a departure from a long-standing tradition. We begin with the COVID-19 situation here in South Korea. The country reported 386 new cases Tuesday, staying below 400 for the second straight day. Despite the slowing trend, authorities remain on high alert as they've eased social distancing measures for selected facilities beginning this week. Of the new cases Tuesday, 351 were locally transmitted and 35 were from overseas. There were 19 more deaths, bringing the death toll to 1,283. South Korea's total number of cases has now surpassed the 73,000 mark. South Korea will begin taking reservations for COVID-19 vaccinations starting next month. This comes as the government on Monday announced plans of a system whereby citizens can access information on when and where coronavirus inoculations will be available. Meanwhile, the drug ministry has granted conditional use authorization to a pharmaceutical giant Celltrion's treatment candidate. Peunji reports.
The South Korean government on Monday said it will put in place a system for people to make COVID-19 vaccine reservations and get information on when and where inoculations will be available.
We are currently working on a system that will allow citizens the access to the information needed for vaccinations, which will begin starting in February.
Commissioner Chung also said that the drug ministry will be in charge of vaccine approval. And as for importing the vaccines, the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport will be responsible. Storing and transporting the vaccines will be taken care of by the Ministry of National Defense, and the inoculation process will be carried out by the Ministry of the Interior and Safety. During the New Year's press conference on Monday, President Moon assured the public that the vaccines are safe. He also said that the government will pay compensation to those who experience any serious side effects. Meanwhile, the country's pharmaceutical giant Celltrion was on Monday granted conditional use authorization for its COVID-19 antibody treatment by the drug ministry.
We were advised to give the treatment the green light on the condition that the drug goes through another third clinical trial.
Clinical data so far shows the treatment can shorten the COVID-19 recovery period by around 3.5 days. Peunji, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, another COVID-19 variant has been reported in Germany. According to local media, the variant was identified Monday at a hospital in Bavarian town in the southeast of the country. An official at the hospital said it isn't the same as the variants from Britain, South Africa, or Brazil. German Chancellor Angela Merkel will discuss a possible extension of Germany's lockdown with 16 state leaders. The current extension is scheduled to last until the end of this month. The United Kingdom and France are ramping up the fight against COVID-19 resurgence by expanding their inoculation programs to lower age groups. While in South America, Brazil has started its rollout after two vaccines were given the green light for emergency usage. Choi Min-jung reports.
While the world continues to witness a resurgence of the COVID-19 pandemic, some countries are increasing efforts to expand their vaccination programs in a bid to speed up the process. The UK has decided to extend its nation's vaccination campaign, allowing people in their 70s and those who are clinically vulnerable to get shots against the virus, starting this week. Speaking to BBC Radio on Monday, the UK minister in charge of the vaccine rollout reassured that the first priority for jabs will still go to those over 80. The expanded inoculation plan comes as the UK aims to vaccinate 15 million people in top priority groups by mid-February. As of Monday, some 3.8 million people across the UK received a first dose. France is also boosting its inoculation campaign, allowing people over the age of 75 to receive COVID-19 vaccinations. The expanded program began on Monday as the government sought to alleviate concerns surrounding the slow rollouts of Pfizer and BioNTech's vaccine. With the extended plan, more people are able to receive shots, as previously, only retirement home residents and frontline health workers were invited for inoculations. The French government aims to vaccinate 1 million people by the end of this month. Brazil, one of the countries hit hardest by the COVID-19 pandemic, has started its vaccine rollout after the country's regulator Anvisa gave the green light for 2 vaccines on Sunday. The country has secured 2 million doses of Oxford and AstraZeneca's vaccine and 6 million doses of CoronaVac developed by Chinese company Sinovac. Though the country has been lagging behind neighboring countries in the vaccine rollout, the vice president says the country is aiming to vaccinate 70% of the entire population by the end of this year. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
A pandemic response investigation team says the World Health Organization and China could have acted quicker to contain the spread of the virus, saying the outbreak in Wuhan was largely hidden, leading to a global pandemic. This comes as the U.S. and China continue to clash over the ongoing scientific mission in Wuhan. Lee Seung-jae with more details.
In its second report Monday, the Independent Panel for Pandemic Preparedness and Response said both the World Health Organization and China could have acted quicker to contain the spread of COVID-19. The report noted that its evaluation of the chronology of the early phase of the outbreak suggests there was potential for early signs to have been acted on more rapidly. The IPPR added it was clear that public health measures could have been applied more forcefully by local and national health authorities in China in January 2020. The independent panel also slammed the WHO, noting it did not hold its emergency committee until January 22, 2020, and failed to issue the highest alert level by not calling the outbreak an emergency in a timely manner. The WHO has faced harsh criticism since the start of the pandemic, especially from U.S. President Donald Trump, who accused the agency of being a puppet of China. With the expert team of investigators in Wuhan aiming to trace the origin, the United States called on China to allow the WHO's expert team to interview caregivers, former patients, and lab workers in Wuhan, drawing a rebuke from Beijing. The U.S., which has previously accused China of hiding the extent of the initial outbreak, called for a transparent investigation while criticizing the terms of the visit, under which Chinese experts conducted the first phase of research. China responded by calling on the U.S. to stop any political pressure.
Virus origin studies are of scientific nature. It needs coordination, cooperation. We must stop any political pressure.
Amid the clash between the superpowers, tracking the origin of COVID-19 may be difficult. The WHO's emergency chief, Mike Ryan, has admitted that it may take many attempts to fully establish the true origin. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Many of the decades-long traditions of U.S. Inauguration Day will not be happening this week. For one, U.S. President Donald Trump is skipping the inauguration ceremony set for January 20th. Our Kim Hyo-sun tells us how Trump plans to leave the White House.
In the final days of his presidency, U.S. President Donald Trump is set to leave in a way none of his predecessors in recent history have opted to do so. He's the first president to be impeached by the House twice, was blamed for a sloppy response to the worst pandemic in a century, and continues to refuse to believe the election wasn't rigged in favor of his opponent. Trump is also likely to be charged by Washington, D.C. prosecutors with a misdemeanor offense, which carries a maximum 6-month sentence for his role in the latest Capitol Hill attack. Trump will not be abiding by the tradition of American presidents attending their successors' inauguration ceremony, as he's expected to leave the White House Wednesday morning, a matter of hours before President-elect Joe Biden takes the oath of office. According to CNN, President Trump is aiming to avoid leaving the White House as a former president, citing sources that said he did not want to ask Biden if he could borrow Air Force One. Rather, he will be heading to his Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida aboard Air Force One. Usually, outgoing presidents take a military helicopter from the White House to an Air Force base in Maryland, then fly off in a government jet. Media outlets also report that Trump is planning a, quote, elaborate military-style standoff with a red carpet, military band, and even a 21-gun salute as he departs for Florida. Attention is also on whether President Trump will leave Biden a traditional congratulatory handwritten letter before leaving the top office. Given the current political situation, pundits say that's highly unlikely. On his final full day in office Tuesday, Trump is reportedly set to issue around 100 pardons and commutations, including white-collar criminals and high-profile rappers. Kim Hyo-san, Arirang News.
Direct flights between Qatar and its former rivals Egypt and the United Arab Emirates took to the skies on Monday. This is the first time in 3 years that such flights have taken place. Egypt and the UAE joined Saudi Arabia and Bahrain in cutting ties with Qatar in 2017, accusing it of being too close to Iran and backing terrorism. The so-called Quartet of Gulf region nations agreed to heal the rift at a summit held earlier this month. The resumption of flights from Doha to Cairo is expected to simplify travel for some 300,000 Egyptians living in Qatar. Train tickets for the upcoming holiday are now on sale. KORAIL, the state-run rail operator, says reservations for the Lunar New Year holiday can be made online or by calling ticket lines. From today, ticket sales will be available to the disabled and the elderly only, but from tomorrow, anyone can buy them. Tickets for Gyeongbu, Gyeongjeon, Donghae, Chungbuk, Gyeongbuk lines can be bought on Wednesday, while those for Honam, Jeolla, Gangneung, Changhang, and more can be bought on Thursday. Sales will be limited to 4 tickets per person, and only window seats can be reserved due to social distancing measures. It can be hard to stick to your moral code under pressure, and winter is one great example. Traditionally, warmth and winter have overlapped when down, fur, leather, wool, and feathers were involved. But thanks to advancement in technology and tough, warm, versatile synthetics, that's no longer the case. Our Kim Hyun-sung looks into how it's easier to have your cake and eat it too, now than ever before, all without relying on animal products.
The lower the temperature, the higher the demand for warm down feather jackets.
But many know very little about how much animal cruelty is involved in creating one down feather jacket. To show you exactly how much feather goes into creating one coat, I'm going to rip this one apart. All these feathers come from roughly 15 to 20 geese or ducks.
Some geese and ducks are bred on live plucking farms, and when their feathers reach full maturity, people tear them out by hand.
People pluck the animals when they're alive. They say it's difficult to pluck when the bodies have stiffened after death. So animals go through tremendous pain, and sometimes parts of their skin are torn out.
Activist Che says that the geese are plucked once every 6 weeks and up to 15 times during their lives. Some even die of the pain.
But with technology improving, there are now a lot of alternatives that can replace geese or duck feathers. These alternative fillings include Wellen, Primaloft, and Thinsulate.
Recently, the demand for cruelty-free fashion is increasing, and a growing number of companies are specializing in ethical vegan clothing.
Vegan coats are coats that are ethically made, without any kind of animal cruelty. We wanted to put an end to such cruelty, so we have replaced geese feathers with 3M Thinsulate.
Synthetic fibers like 3M Thinsulate can serve as an alternative to animal feathers. Besides being cruelty-free, they also offer many other benefits.
It's warmer and lighter than animal feathers, and it's even waterproof and functional.
If you already own a down feather jacket, don't just throw it away. Activists say that this will just lead to more environmental waste. Rather, they recommend wearing what you already have for as long as you possibly can. And when it's time for another jacket, keep the ethical alternative in mind. Kim Hyun-sung, Arirang News.
Good morning. The harsh winter weather continues in South Korea. It was snowy yesterday, and now we are down to bone-chilling temperatures again with cold wave alerts in most parts of the country. So dress extra warmly on your way out. In fact, the highs in Seoul will remain in negative territory, rising to just -2 degrees Celsius. Gwangju topping out at 5 degrees this afternoon, but mostly sunny skies and clean air will be featured all day. Many regions along the East Coast, though, are under dry weather alerts, so be careful of anything that could cause a fire. In fact, those in mountainous regions in Gangwon-do and Gyeongsang-pukdo will need to be particularly careful, as both dry and cold alerts are in place. Well, this cold snap, though, will be a snap in and out quickly. Temperatures will hike to a much more bearable side tomorrow afternoon, while Gangwon-do and southern regions will see a light winter mix on Friday and into Saturday. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the weather conditions around the world.
And that's a wrap for us at the hour on Arirang News. We'll be back with more of the day's headlines at noon Korea time, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.
With the third wave of COVID-19 infections, South Korea has been on edge trying to keep the hospital